What is up, JL Life? Modell here. Today we got another game of What's in the Box. Stay tuned. So what we're going to be installing today is the Bushwacker fender delete kit. Comes with the hardware, the fender deletes, and front turn signal lights for the front fender. So you might be wondering why we decided to go with Bushwacker over other brands that have aluminum kits, steel kits. Well, one, price. Plastic's a lot cheaper than the metal ones, and for a part like this that's just for aesthetic purposes, rather have plastic. And plus, plastic fenders I'd rather have to begin with because, well, they've saved Missy's Jeep this time.
Just your fender, just your fender.
They've saved my Jeep this time. I don't know why it's not recording, but it was gnarly, and I grabbed my fender, like this. I'd rather have some give in the parts of the Jeep that get hit on rocks more often than something that's metal that's going to just gunk it up. So install should be pretty simple. It should bolt into previous holes that are already there. Unfortunately, we don't have fenders to take off. If you need to see that video, link here. You can go watching how we remove them. This is just going to be showing the product and roughly what's involved with the install. So installing these is actually pretty straightforward and simple. The hardest thing is just removing the old ones, but of course we didn't have that problem. Now if you have the plastic inner fenders and you want to reuse those, you can, and they tell you in the instructions how to go about measuring to cut that to fit it back in there once separating it from the outer fender. But what we're going to do first is we're going to be installing the nutserts. And the way to do that is they have your nutsert tool, which is just a bolt and a really thick spacer with these crimping teeth in it. It's this bolt's going to slide through it. The crimping teeth are going to go towards the end of the bolt, and you're going to install 5 on the rear. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert the nutsert. You're going to start your bolts. You're going to grab yourself a wrench to hold the spacer, an impact wrench with the size 11 driver, and give it a good crimping. And you just back it up. You're going to do it to the next hole, which is going to be this one. And it's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4th hole. Just make sure when you're installing these, the nutsert is sitting flush. And the next one will go here. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. And the last one for the rear at the very bottom. 1, 2, 3. Now it is important you get these into the right hole, otherwise the holes with the fender will not line up. Yeah, it's easy enough to take these back out. You just drill them out. But you'll have to go get yourself new nutserts. One of the other problems we are going to have to overcome, because we have trimmed the rear fender portion of Misty's Jeep, the fender doesn't actually line up with all of it. So you can see it kind of looks like a hot mess right now. No, it doesn't really look like a hot mess. But the issue is if we leave it like this, the tire's going to bite into this and likely just tear it off. So we're going to have to trim this the best we can, and I'm just going to get a marker, kind of trace behind it so it looks like this. And just a little bit more trimming we're going to do on this side, but just to kind of keep that line to where the tire's not going to bite into it and rip it all off. Just so I can kind of have this in the place it needs to be. Just going to put the 2 top bolts in softly so it's sitting where it needs to go. crawl up underneath and after cutting, go and dry fit to make sure it's going to fit your application. Then we'll go back and kind of clean up the edges with the worn out flap disc. Come mock it up. Nope, we're good. Cool. All right, well, let's bolt this in. So before bolting it in, make sure you get the weather stripping on the exterior part. We'll show you how to do that. So the weather stripping is easy to do. You just run it along the outside lip. And you cut it to length. And the purpose for that is mainly to prevent scratching to your Jeep, but it gives it a little bit cleaner of a look. Installed with weather stripping. How it looks without weather stripping.
So you got it put in place. We're just gonna get the last part and then you peel the tape along the rest of the way.
So your kit comes with a bunch of these plastic spacers. You got a bunch of 1-inch spacers and a 1/2-inch spacer. It also comes with 2-inch bolts and 1-inch bolts. You're going to need the 2-inch bolts for the rear. Make sure you add your washer. What you're going to do is the spacer will go on the back side. And what you want to do is just start them at this point. You're going to go through the 4 from the back to the front are going to be the long washer. The one that goes towards the inside of the Jeep is actually going to be the short washer.
Spacer.
So I said spacer. Prove me wrong. It's a little tight, but it's not impossible to get done. Take your size 4 Allen key. Just tighten them all. Now let's knock out the front. You're going to start with your 4 nutserts. You're going to start at this bottom corner hole. Get your nutsert tool in there. To skip up 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 5th hole. From here, 1, 2. And your last one, skip these 2, number 3. Are removing this, and you have the brackets that stick out, which we cut away already on this video. You're going to need to cut them off because they can't be there.
That one.
So you don't need to remove these 2 brackets. These will stay here, but we are going to be using the top one. We're not going to worry about the bottom one, but you're going to get this little L bracket. You're going to drop one of the 1-inch bolts down in it. Slide it down, get your nut, and you're going to tighten that down. There's a little universal clip that's designed to grab a nut from the other side. You're just going to slide that on top. So for the front, the way the bolts are going to work, 2 short bolts for the 2 front ones, no spacer on the very front, and all the other 4 are going to be short spacers. Remember, no spacer behind this one. You do have a spacer behind the second one. And you have a spacer go into the long bolts, and short spacers behind the rest. Thinking about it, it'll probably be easier if you start with the long bolts first, give you more wiggle room. Get your fingers back there. So before you attach the front fenders, they also come with these dorky little cheap lights to function for your turn signal if you're removing them off of your fender, because your turn signal's in your fender. However, for our Jeep, we've already routed our turn signal into the headlights, where wiring's a little bit different. But the way you do this is, before you put it on, you just put that in there, push it in nice and tight. You run your negative, your live, and your neutral just into the turn signal, wiring. They provide that. So they tell you colors to run to the wiring harness of your lights in the event that that's what you choose to do. It should actually be really easy because all your wires are going to be hanging loose. Ours aren't, because I've already done other things like I've already explained. But as you do this, just make sure you are running your wires up behind the fender so they are out of the way. Temporarily, we're going to leave this blank because we don't like the lights. We're going to do something else a little bit more custom here in the future. So here it is, all done. Now you may be asking, what's the purpose of these? Well, these specifically, well, there's not really a purpose to them except to aesthetically look pleasing. If you're wondering,
Stop giving me a hard time.
yeah, here. Aside from actually going to a fender delete to begin with, it just gives you more up travel, gives you more clearance for how narrow your Jeep is, so you're not hitting your fenders, to avoid the nicks and dings like this. However, this doesn't bother me at all, and that's actually one of the benefits of plastic fenders, is rocks grab them and they're just fine. So the reason Misty went with Bushwacker specifically, again, as I mentioned earlier, the cost. Me and Misty didn't see the value of spending $600-700 for cutouts like this that didn't add any real function to the Jeep. Misty was able to find these on Quadratech for $300, $350.
They're on sale, like $279 from $3 something.
The install was super easy. The install was quick and easy. Guys, thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment,
Subscribe and share.
stay tuned for the next one, whenever that'll be. Yeah, keep it easy.